Steel City Man Podcast, Episode 1. Welcome to the very first episode of the Steel City Man Podcast. My thoughts on life, the universe, and almost everything. It's been a long time in the making and is designed to run alongside my Steel City Man vlogging channel on YouTube, which consists of a random rant as and when I feel the need, which can be quite often, a generic vlog entitled Walk a Mile in My Shoes, uploaded on Wednesdays. And the content of Walk a Mile in My Shoes is quite eclectic, covering topics such as politics, and you'll soon get which way I lean, a genealogy, specifically my family tree, a little sport, everyday happenings locally and nationally, and family stuff, and historical anniversaries of various kinds. It also runs alongside my blog on WordPress, A Day in the Life of a Steel City Man. Please feel free to give me a thumbs up or even subscribe if you like this podcast, if you're enjoying it. Ring the bell to be notified of future episodes, every Sunday evening upload. There are no guests in this episode, as I'm using it as a pilot, a test to gauge any response, test equipment, and generally dip my toes in the waters of the podcastiverse. The topic for this first episode is to vlog pod or not to vlog pod. When I first thought about having a presence on the World Wide Web, I thought about writing a blog, and after much searching around decided to open a WordPress account, mainly because it was a free platform to blog on, though you can get more of an experience if you upgrade and pay a monthly or annual fee. So although the free version has its limitations, it was quite adequate for me and what I wanted it for. I entitled the blog A Day in the Life of a Steel City Man, and the address, should you wish to visit, is www.steelcityman.wordpress.com. Why Steel City Man? Well, I'm from Sheffield, in Yorkshire, England, and Sheffield's claim to fame was its steel industry. I say was because Sheffield's steel industry and cutlery, on which this great city has been founded, have all but disappeared due to the cheap foreign imports and restrictions from European Union quotas. Very sad state of affairs. So although we're still called a steel city, it is in fact a very small steel producing city. Sheffield is also famed for its invention at Firth Brown's laboratories of stainless steel. What an invention that was. It was and still is known as a steel city. I'm a man from the steel city, so my handle is Steel City Man. Anyway, the blogging proceeded and I gained a few followers, made some good friends and like-minded people around the world, and enjoyed reading other bloggers' notes. After a while, I thought, how cool would it be to supplement the blog with a video version, so people could have a choice whether to read or watch. Oh dear. Down that route would lead not to madness, but to expense. In order to include a video on WordPress, one has to upgrade to a pro package and pay a monthly subscription. No can do. I am just a poor senior citizen, sound the violins, I'm 70 next year, on a fixed income, a pension, so extra expenses to be avoided at all costs. No pun intended. That situation would lead to me looking around for a platform which would allow me to include a video for no cost. Then I discovered the medium of broadcasting yourself on YouTube. Of course, I'd been on YouTube before, looking at clips of funny cats and strange antics of other animals, the odd ancient music clip that I remember from my youth. Haven't we all? And I came across vlogs and got introduced to the famous Casey Neistat and his daily vlogs. I was instantly hooked. The blog took a back seat while I feverishly researched the equipment needed to be a Casey Neistat Mark II. That guy really impressed me with his skills at filmmaking, and to this day he remains the single biggest influence on my decision to start vlogging. I quickly realised that I couldn't compete with the likes of Casey et al. Without having to spend a great many spondulics. It was at that point I realised Casey Neistat was in fact a millionaire, and I definitely couldn't match his gear. I had what I considered to be a good camera, a Nikon D3100, but it turned out not to be a good camera for vlogging. Autofocus was not good, no flip out viewing screen, and the quality of the sound reproduction was quite, how can I say it, naff. What I wanted was a camera like Casey Neistat used at the time, a Canon 70D. I couldn't afford it, so I broke the bank and purchased a Canon 750D and a cheap external lapel mic. I was ready to start vlogging on YouTube. I opened my channel, and after posting my first video, realised I needed more stuff. Needed? I found out later that I didn't need the extra stuff. I wanted it. Big difference. More equipment like studio lights, a decent shotgun mic, a better, stronger tripod, more SD cards. The list grew bigger and bigger over time. And I spent money I didn't have, and eventually I had to stop myself from getting more equipment. You can actually vlog quite well off your cell phone, if the light's good. I was hooked on vlogging and thought of doing a daily vlog. Much more interesting than writing a blog, I thought. But doing a daily vlog is a time-consuming and physically demanding effort. You need to get out and about on varying outdoor locations to add interesting content to the vlog, and at nearly 70 years old, the physical demands were just too great for me. Heart failure, diabetes, polymyalgia really limits my physical capabilities. So daily vlogging was a non-starter. I found it difficult to stick to an upload schedule of one vlog every 2 weeks. A lack of motivation was the problem, as well as the lack of affordable equipment. I realised if I wanted to make a go of the YouTube channel, I would have to start creating more videos and upload them on a regular basis. It was about that time I stumbled on a channel run by a young man called Harrison Fletcher from Rotherham, near Sheffield, just round the corner from where I'm living. He wears many hats, does Harrison. YouTuber, comedian, filmmaker, podcaster, and he incorporates all the hats on YouTube. He's a very skillful fellow as well as a very likeable young man, full of humour, skill and serious intent. His details are down below in the show more section. Give him a watch and a listen. You won't regret it. He's been a great influence on me, helping me to keep my feet on the ground and not disappearing to Casey's world. Anyway, with this newfound impetus, I formulated a new schedule of filming and uploads, deciding to bite the bullet and go for 2 vlogs a week, Monday and Wednesday, with, at some later stage, if I could manage it, a Sunday podcast. Also, due to my financial constraints, i.e. being a pauper, as poor as a church mouse, on the last Friday of the month I would do a tech review of all the cheaper end equipment that I was using for those like me without a large stash of cash and who were eager to start vlogging on a budget. I started my new schedule about a month ago and I'm finding it hard going, but very enjoyable. I'm slow, I'm a bit of a technophobe to boot, and it's that which slows me down, plus the editing. Oh my goodness, the infernal editing. It takes me an age to edit a vlog. I've no sponsors for this podcast, only me, Steel City Man. So if you like this podcast, again, how about giving me a thumbs up by clicking on the like button? Subscribe even. I would really appreciate that. If you subscribe, don't forget to ring the bell to be notified of future uploads. I thank you. So vlogging, far from being easier than blogging, is very much more hard work and much more expensive, time consuming and exhausting, at least for someone as medically unfit as me. The links to my cheaper but adequate equipment are in the show more section below. As far as podcasting goes, I've been listening to poddies for a number of years, mainly from the BBC, magazine programmes, 5 Live and such. I never really thought of doing one myself. Thought it was just for professional broadcasters. Then Harrison Fletcher reared his head, complete with standy-up hair. Very tastefully done, I might add, not like Jedward at all. Harrison does a poddy, he does a very good one too, both serious and funny, either on his own or with the added dimension of a guest. I thought I could do that. All it is talking to a mic. No one sees my face, so I'm not self-conscious. How cool is that? Sounds so simple, doesn't it? The thing with podcasting is, for me anyway, I know very little about it. So this first one, this pilot episode, is more or less guesswork. It's me dipping my big toe in the unknown waters of the podiverse. I just don't know what'll happen. Do I put it out on YouTube, iTunes, both, or one of the myriad free podding platforms out there? Mind you, as mentioned earlier, the word free is a bit of a misnomer. Yes, you can get a basic package to pod with, but there are limitations, unless you sign up for the Pro package and pay a monthly subscription. Still, I suppose everyone needs to make a quid or two. As I was researching the podiverse, it became apparent that sound quality is very important. After all, the recipient of the poddy only has your voice to listen to, no film to watch, so there's no distractions from what you're saying. You can't talk like Andy Murray. Sorry Andy, if the sound quality is naff. You aren't going to hold your audience. That's assuming anyone has found your corner of the podiverse in the first place. A lot of people are saying I need a mixing deck, a good microphone to boost quality of sound. Others are saying just use the shotgun mic on your camera. I'll find out everything, eventually, what is going to work for me, as long as it's not too expensive. What do you mean typical bloody Yorkshireman? We're not that bad. Well, not really. Of course, the other thing about podding, as well as blogging and vlogging, is the quality of the content produced. Until I find a style of podding I can call my own, I may find it a little difficult to talk quality content. What audience should I aim for? Well, there's one. What I'd like to aim for is my age group and slightly younger, sort of middle-aged to elderly. I try and encourage more of that age bracket to start a podcast, vlogging, or even a blog. The other question is, what type of content will hold them for 20 to 30 minutes? What will keep them coming back for more? So many questions and no answers. Yet. But for now, the vlogging will continue with all sections on one channel. I think I've made my mind up that the podcast is going out on the YouTube channel. I may look at iTunes later. The podding, well, let's see what the response is to this first podcast, if any at all. Whatever you think, please leave a comment, be gentle with me. Any constructive criticism will be gratefully received. So that's it for episode 1 of the Steel City Man podcast. I'll talk with you next week, hopefully. Bye for now.